Okay, so we're now going into chapter 12, as you know. So it's your last chapter. And then after that, we're basically going into the final. And so you'll notice that the final is due on May 21st, I think it is. Let me just double check again. So you should have access to the final, so you can look at that in terms of the requirements for it. But yeah, it's due May 21st. And keep in mind, you can't turn this in late. So you have no chance of turning it. It's not like you can turn it in a week late or anything like that and you lose points or whatever. No, it's due on that date, because part of it too is, besides that I need to turn in the grades and all that, is the fact that I give you like 2-3 weeks. Okay, so after today, or after you turn in your chapter 12, you're basically you have all this time to turn in your final. Obviously, you need to be working on it and all that kind of stuff. Keep in mind that you'll need to do a flow chart, and also you'll need to do a storyboard. So that's part of your assignment also, which is going to be due next week. So flowchart and storyboard, you guys can read through it in terms of what the flowchart, what I expect from the flowchart. There's links in here in terms of what a flowchart is and a storyboard. Now I'll go over this next week, but just I want to give you the heads up so that if you want to start working on it earlier, that's fine. You can turn in the final project early, and you could be done with the class. Okay. So and then you can obviously focus on your other finals, study for those and things like that. So here's a chance to get ahead and be done with it, in terms of your final. All right. So again, you need the flowchart and final project. So now chapter 12. So with chapter 12, basically what we're doing here is that you're creating a prototype application, for the most part, of a phone application where you're going to do a swipe and zoom in, zoom out. All right. So in Flash, you have that capability to create a phone type of application. You can create it for the Android phone. You can create it for the iPhone. Now, some people say, well, you can't have Flash in the iPhone. It's true. And it's Flash itself, the Swift file, the file that you guys have been creating, that can't be used on the iPhone. So if you put that, for instance, if you create an application or create a website or create a game or whatever in Flash, and then you embed it within a website like you did for chapter 6, then when you try to use it for the iPhone, it won't come up. That's the problem with the iPhone. But you can actually create an application of some sort, a game or some type of application, and you can apply to be able to create this application and apply to be able to upload it to the iPhone, for iOS, and have it so it works out, so it could be an app that people would buy or whatever or use. And you can do that also with Android and so on. So with Flash, you have multiple ways you can deploy it to different platforms. Okay, so keep that in mind in terms of being able to use iPhone or being able to use Flash. And today, with chapter 12, you'll get a chance to do that. Now you'll notice when in chapter 12, you'll be able to the action script is going to be a little bit different. Well, not a little bit different, but the commands and so on, the functions are going to be different that you're going to be using for Flash. But for the most part, the setup in terms of it's going to be pretty much the same. Right? You're going to use, as a matter of fact, you're going to use a template from the iPhone or from Flash itself and be able to create this application. You'll see it's a pretty simple application. All right, so let me just show you. So again, here's the, notice that everything is pretty much set up in one frame. So you have actions, a menu, gallery items, background. And again, you're using a template. And you'll see that in the book tells you how to open the template. I'm not going to go through that because it's very simple type thing set up. And you'll notice that here's the background right here in terms of the setup right here. And you'll have this particular movie clip that's going to have all your images that you're going to use. Okay? So when I test it out, oh, before you test it out, make sure under the control, under test movie, that you've selected in-air debug launcher. Make sure that's selected, right? And then you're going to do command return or just control test. And when you do that, you're going to get the emulator. And also, you'll see in a couple of seconds, here's your flash file. Here's the simulator. Emulator, simulator. And then notice down at the bottom right here where it says touch and gesture, you can close this up. The accelerator, by the way, is like if you want to rotate it, like you want to rotate it so that you can move a ball or something in there, that would be what you would use the accelerator for. But under touch and gesture, that's what you're going to activate. You're going to click on touch layer, and then you're going to do the zoom and the swipe one at a time. Okay? So now I'm going to select the swipe, for instance, and notice I'm able to swipe back and forth in terms of my images. So this would simulate an iPhone or whatever, a tablet or something like that, right? Now if I want to zoom in, I'll click on the zoom, and then you have to do the pinching. You have to click once on top, once on the bottom, or once on the bottom, once on the top, whatever. But you click once, notice that little circle stays there, and then I click once again, and then I pinch, or I click and drag up, or click and drag out, so I can zoom in. So depending on how you set it up, okay, depending on how you set up that image and everything else in terms of where the registration point is and all that kind of stuff, you'll be able to do a zoom, be able to do a zoom where it only zooms in. Notice right here, where it's not very proportionate, but you can set it up so that it can be a proportionate zoom in, zoom out, like you see it when you do it on your iPhone or Android type setup. Okay, so you can set that up so that it's not squishing it, it's not squishing the image or distorting it in some other way. But you should at least be able to do that. Now I'm not going to take away if you set it up this way. I'm not going to take away points, but I should be able to do the zoom and the swipe using the simulator. And you'll notice that I'm using Adobe CC. So, and this also works with CS6. So if you have CS6 at home and you need to do it with CS6, it'll work just fine too. Okay? So it's very simple. So let me close this up. Again, you'll notice some of the action here. You'll notice that you're now using multi-touch, right? You're not creating, you do have you're still using like add event listener, but you're focusing on the stage and not on a button. And, you can do all these other things, but then you have to make sure that you're using the multi-touch input. Okay? And there are other type of commands and so on. Most of this right here, you'll see how the book talks about how to set that up. Okay? So you don't have to actually know, in terms of creating this particular action script. It'll be given to you so that you can set this up on there and be able to do all those things. Now keep in mind, as you'll notice again, we're setting it all up on frame 1. Okay. Let's see what else. Let's see here. So again, make sure that you're setting up so that we can do the zoom and that we can do the swipe. Okay. And that is it. Any questions? All right, so again, keep in mind that once you're done with this, I would get your mind start to thinking about doing the final. And it's going to start with creating the flowchart and storyboard.